Helen here. Welcome to my channel. Today's card's going to be a very short and sweet card. I've been making very long videos just lately, so this one's going to be a little bit quicker. Today's card I'm going to be using the Ultra New stencil again. This one's the Leaf Burst stencil, and I'm going to be using some modelling paste on it this time instead of doing some inking. So I've stuck down a piece of card bigger than my card base down onto a board with painter's tape, and then I've stuck the stencil down, and I'm going to use a palette knife just to spread this golden light modelling paste over it. I was going to use my Tim Holtz texture paste, but it had completely dried out in the jar, so I've gone to another brand that I had. So once I'm happy with how smooth it's all gone on to the stencil and I've wiped off any excess and popped it back in the jar, I'm just going to set that aside now to dry, and I'll go ahead and do some stamping. An Ultra New stamp set called Beautiful Peony. It's a really lovely set, this one, and I'm going to be colouring it in with Copics, but I'm not going to show you the colouring in. It just takes way too long, so I've done that off camera. So I'm just going to stamp it first with Memento Tuxedo black ink because it's Copic friendly, and no embossing with this, and I'll just do a range of the flowers. I'm also going to use the Beautiful Day, the main flower in that as well, because I think they go quite nicely together. So I'll stamp one of those and a number of the flowers out of the set, and then some leaves from both sets, and then I'll go ahead and do the colouring. I also decided to use a couple of the sprigs out of the Beautiful Day stamp set as well, because I thought they'd go very nicely. I'm planning to do a pink and yellow colour scheme with the Copic colouring, and I thought the sprigs would look really nice and introduce a bit more yellow. So now that my stenciling's dry and I've also done the colouring of the flowers and leaves and sprigs, I'm just going to stick the stencil piece of card onto the card base. I've put double-sided tape all the way around the card base, but I'm only going to just stick the very top part of the stencil on, because I thought what I was going to do was use some vellum and tuck the sides and underneath the card panel once I had done the flowers, but I ended up changing my mind and going with a black sentiment, so I didn't need to do that, and I go back and stick the full panel down onto the card base a bit later. I trimmed the surplus of the card panel off, and then I can start having a go at laying out my flowers and leaves and deciding where I'm going to put everything. So I fiddle around with that for a bit. I'm going to use some press and seal just to lay over the top and hold everything in place while I flip it over and do some gluing. I'm not going to do dimension on this card, although you could. You could do the different layers with foam tape, but I decided to make a really flat card today, so I'm just going to glue everything down as it is. So once I'm happy with the placement of all the leaves and flowers, and I've stuck the press and seal down firmly on it, I can flip the whole lot over and then start gluing everywhere where I can see is going to be on the card. There will be some layers that I need to go back and glue that are now on the bottom, which will eventually be on the top when I flip it back over, but it's a really good trick for keeping everything in place and doing your gluing and then flipping it back over and gluing it all as one unit. I'm going to just pop that aside for a minute with the press and seal still on it and let the glue stick for a bit, and while it's doing that I'm going to get the sentiment ready. Now I found a piece of black card that's got some double-sided sticky paper on the back, so I'm just going to use a strip out of that to do my sentiment, but first I'm going to liberally dust it with my embossing buddy, because black's notorious for getting the white powder everywhere on it. Well, it really shows up, and you'll see the end result, the photos at the end of the video, that I didn't exactly succeed with that. It's not my best stamping ever. I've got the happy birthday sentiment from this Altenew birthday greetings stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp that with Versamark ink and Ranger white embossing powder and heat set that with my heat tool, and then I'll cut the strip out. I just want a really thin strip that's going to sit over the flowers. And now carefully peel off the press and seal and glue as I go any pieces that are sitting on the top and might be loose, or parts of them loose. I'll just glue those down, and then that's the flower part finished. The two flowers that are at the top that are overhanging the card, I'm going to trim off because it will make it difficult to get it in an envelope, but the little tiny bits that are off towards the side I'm going to just leave. They'll be alright. And I can go ahead and stick the sentiment where I want that to go. And then finally I'm going to just put a couple of clear sparkling sequins dotted around the card just to give it a little bit of a sparkle. I'm really pleased with how this card turned out. It's a really lovely combination, the pink and the yellow. Very pretty. I'll leave you looking at some photos of the close-ups of the card, and at the end there might be a couple of videos that you might be interested in. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little bell to get notifications when my next video comes up, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.